Hey, you. Subscribe. You're watching Radio Free Cybertron. Hosted by Brian Kilby with JD Church, John DeLuna, XV, Amy Morgan, and Rob Clay. For the latest Transformer news, reviews, and more, visit tformers.com.
Hey, this is Radio Free Cybertron, episode 337, recorded in the future.
Standing by.
Or the past.
Or the past. The deep, distant past. A long time ago in a podcast far, far away. I'm your host, Brian Kilby. And with me this week, we have Diecast, Don, and JD. Gentlemen.
Yeah.
Came in. Oh.
How's it going?
Excellent.
Yeah,
Still
totally,
fighting
really.
this crap, but
You still sick?
yeah, it's still hanging in there, but I'm a lot better than I was 2 weeks ago.
I am now in my second round of antibiotics since getting sick.
Man, that's cray.
I've been sick now for a month and a half, something like that.
Dear God, sir. That's not good.
It's awesome. I love it.
Everyone I know is either getting sick, been sick, or getting over being sick.
Kim is getting sick again.
Ugh. All of you sick people, I'm sure glad that, no offense, but I'm kind of glad y'all live like way the hell away from me.
Yeah.
You are insulated by the internet, sir.
Totally.
On the show this week, we have an interview with Trent Troop about BMOG and its new Kickstarter campaign. Q&A with Rob Springer. XV and company are bringing us comic news. And this week, we have Transformers Rewind, Sea Change. Yes, that episode. Yeah, so let's start things off, though, with This Week in History. God, this one makes me feel old. So, This Week in History is our chance to look back 10 years on what was going on. 10 years ago this week. War Within, The Dark Ages, number 2, and Armada 17 are released in the U.S. Not just War Within, but War Within, The Dark Ages.
Oh.
That's like the follow-up to War Within.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was the last issue of that series, wasn't it?
I
3 never came out?
I don't remember. But what I do remember is, to me, War Within is still new. Oh, God.
Yeah, I'm looking at that, and I'm like, 2003, that was 10 years ago, and I had graduated in 2001, so that was 2 years after I graduated high school.
Graduated from high school.
I was already starting my career off at this point. I was like in the real world.
2001 is when I was supposed to graduate from college.
I was right here in the same apartment.
Wow.
Just in a different
apparently
room.
time stands still for Don.
Yeah. In a different room on dial-up.
Well, there's a certain point in your adult life where time does kind of stand still. It's like once you get like a house or a place and your job and stuff, it's just kind of like, there you are. You know? It's like I've been in this house for like 5 years now, and 5 years from now, I'll be like 10 years. Yeah. It's just.
I hope to be out of this. I've been in this house now for 5.5 years, going on, and I'm really hoping to be in another house by then.
I thought didn't you just buy that house?
We literally just bought this house, but it wasn't by choice.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
So hopefully it would be nice if I was a little farther south here in about 6 months.
Well, that's rental property is what you...
That's exactly right. So first up in the news. How
to make money like old people.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, I know a guy that he's like 25 and he has like 10 rental homes.
That is booming business.
I hate him.
Yeah. If I could get into it, I would be doing it.
Yeah. First up, though, so like I mentioned, we have an interview with Trent Troop about BMOG, and during the interview, he actually gave us an exclusive look at a new model that they're going to be doing. and it's pretty cool. It's like some sort of lizard thing. I'm certain it has.
Dimetrodon?
Yeah, Dimetrodon. Yeah, that's right.
It's it's pretty cool.
It's the dinosaur with the sail on its back.
Yeah, that's the one that doesn't break apart. It's just sort of.
It's like an axe. It's an axe thing.
Yeah, it's an axe weapon.
But that's pretty cool. So I'm really looking forward to this. In the interview, you'll learn more about the program. We talked about it before, but it's kind of interesting. I didn't actually realize all of the parties involved. I'm a terrible friend, but I know basically everybody involved. And like I mentioned in the pre-show, 1/3 of the BMOG crew has slept on my couch.
Does that say that he lives in Tulsa?
Yeah, he lives in
I
Tulsa.
didn't know that.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
Yeah, Trent lives in Tulsa.
How did I miss that?
I don't know. If I don't know if you guys remember, like one of the first things I can remember Trent doing back in the day was that They Might Be Giants video of the Transformers. The statue got me high. Do you remember that? That was a great video. But he also did some of the art that made it on the cover of like one or two of the Cybertronian unofficial recognition guides and lots of other stuff. Trent's been around forever. He's one of us old folks too. And his birthday is this week, so happy birthday, Trent.
Oh, hey. Happy birthday.
I remember Trent from the early days of BotCon, and that was that's going back a ways too, I know. But so he's been in the fandom as long as anybody.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. God, we're old.
Yeah. So I'm going to have to read this one because I actually don't know. There's going to be a Transformers Ultimate Games bundle for Christmas coming from Activision. So Activision Hasbro announced that there are 2 new game bundles coming out. Transformers Ultimate Battle Edition for Nintendo Wii and Ultimate Autobot Edition for Nintendo DS. DS, really, not 3DS? Okay, these are old games. So looks like the Ultimate Edition, or pardon me, the Battle Edition looks like it includes the Cybertron Adventures and the Dark of the Moon Stealth Force game and Stealth Force Edition, and the Ultimate Autobots Edition includes Revenge of the Fallen and the Dark of the Moon. So, and they are how much? $30. That's a pretty good deal for the Wii version, and the DS version is $20. So if you actually,
that's not bad.
That's not bad at all.
I might do that.
Yeah,
It's old gen.
I need more DS games.
Yeah, I do too.
I'm kidding. I've got Pokemon. It's the only game I need.
I need more DS games.
Now, the Stealth Force one, that's the one where you just stay in car mode all the time, right? I remember when that came out, there was some like, well, but it's not based on the Stealth Force line of toys.
I think
I'm trying to remember if it was or not.
Don, you had to ask the question. I don't know.
Sorry, well, I thought JD would know.
So it's good that, new generation systems are coming out, within the next week, and they're just pushing out some stuff for Christmas.
It's called clearance.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's clearance.
Well, well, if they sell enough, maybe that'll help fund whatever the Transformer game will be on these next systems.
True.
This is going to be in your, video game bin at Toys R Us. That's basically what this is going to be in.
Yeah. But
Well,
hey, whatever. I mean, I'm sure they have like the stuff. It's just they're trying to sell it. So,
But also, that's an easy buy for grandparents who know their kids love Transformers and video games.
And they have a Nintendo. They don't know which one, but
Right.
they got a Nintendo.
Right.
But I'm just saying, there is a market for this. It's just so it may wind up being a good thing for a lot of people.
Yeah. It sounds like a deal. I mean, like I said, Brian and I both said we wanted it. So,
Yeah. Hey, that's 50% of us.
Right, there you go.
So lots of people out there, for some reason, didn't get Masterpiece Grimlock, and it's therefore very, very expensive now. So if you want to get it, on the aftermarket, it goes for like $300. It's ridiculous. So, of course, when there's money involved, somebody's there to knock something off. So there's a knockoff Masterpiece Grimlock available. Of course, it's going to go for the same retail price that you already paid for Grimlock before, but, supply and demand. Here's some more supply. It's unclear at this moment what separates the two. The picture that I'm looking at actually looks pretty decent. And the Masterpiece knockoffs tend to be pretty close to my understanding. Frankly, I'm considering getting the knockoff Red Alert because, well, I can't afford Red Alert now because he's, $150, something like that? And you can get you can get the knock. It was like 130 or something. You can get the knockoff for like $50.
I wonder how much a knockoff Grimlock would go for.
They don't know. I don't. I think it's probably going to be about what you would expect to pay for a new one. But if it's decent, and as long as you don't have like some sort of qualms about buying a knockoff, go for it. Just don't buy it. Just don't go out buying a new Grimlock and find yourself buying this. That sucks, because that's happened to me.
Well, the good thing is, at least with this Grimlock, if that's the actual packaging, it is so radically different than
the packaging is the packaging is different, but if you buy it loose,
that's always the danger, is when you buy it loose.
Or if you're not a collector, and a girlfriend says, "Oh, my boyfriend Billy, he really loves Billy. He really Billy Wally. He really loves Transformers, so I'm going to get him this Masterpiece Grimlock." She drops $200 on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just at least it's not like the Red Alert and the Sideswipe packages that were
really close. I mean,
you had to have a checklist and to see what the differences were.
Yeah, and the Red Alert is so darn close. I am really considering it. Now that I've got, I'll talk about a little bit about it later. Now that I have Blue Streak as well as Prowl, I really want to go back and get Red Alert. I don't have Sideswipe, but I know a new release of that's coming out.
G2.
Well, a new release of the
original.
of the original is coming out too. Tiger Track, not so much. I can live without Tiger Track, but I do want the real quote unquote G1 characters. So, let's see here. We have more photos of the Easy Formers figures, like the Voyager class scaled up Legion class figures. In packaging, they look better than those $30 2 feet tall figures we have at Target.
That's true. I mean, they do got that going for them.
And I do like the color scheme on that Predaking. I mean, the color scheme is nice.
Yeah, it is. I mean,
it's just,
how
much easier is easy though? Because that Prime wasn't much to that at all.
Easier than any other Voyager class figure. If you're a 7-year-old, this is perfect.
Yeah.
That Prime, the proportions just are not right. I mean, maybe upscaling it,
they are not of Jesus.
Yeah. It's
Predaking looks great. Prime, not so much. Especially the missile launcher. That missile launcher should not be scaled up to Voyager size.
Yeah, and the green just does not work with.
I don't know. The green, it's ugly, but it's ugly in a way that I appreciate.
I mean, if it glowed in the dark as a feature, okay. But it's just...
I'm just looking at my real Voyager Prime, and I'm like, God, that thing's so much better than this.
Yeah.
And it's sort of odd that they would come out with this when they've got the large Dragon Hunter Prime on the shelves that they're going to try to have to sell. It just seems like this is a kind of a shoot yourself in the foot move. Like, I get this big one for $60, but there's the same character here for $25.
Well, they've been doing that though. I mean, that's why they have different price points.
I understand what he's saying. Why with these two figures when we've got these two figures in every size imaginable already? Why upscale them?
Yeah, just because I can't imagine they needed to fill out a case like they did with the.
But wasn't the reason they wanted to have these easy transformable figures, but to expedite the process, they took the Legion class figures and scaled them up.
I still don't understand why, though. I mean,
Just
you could have done other figures. Like, why did they not do hard shell?
Because he's not Prime.
Yeah, it's just
He would have sold though.
Yeah,
but not as well as Prime will.
Yeah, but Voyager Prime in Beast Hunters is not that much more difficult than the Legion version. It really isn't.
I don't know. We would have to ask Hasbro.
And look, out of a scale on the box from 1 to 3, they're still rating this at 2. So no parent is going to pick this up and say, "Oh, look, my kid will actually be able to transform this one." So they're killing themselves with the packaging alone.
It's just an odd choice to me to do this right now.
Yeah, that makes no sense. But you know what does make sense? Generation Skids.
Yes.
Isn't that awesome?
Oh, I hope we get these soon.
Yeah, me too. Generation Skids. Skids looks great, and the fact that it's Skids is amazing. I don't know about Waspinator so much. I want it, of course. I absolutely want it. I love Waspinator so much. He looks good, but other than being a new Waspinator, I don't really know what value it adds because, of course, it's not like the Waspinator that we got 15 years ago is terrible. He's bulkier than this, but it's still Waspinator.
Yeah, especially the Wasp mode on this looks a lot more streamlined. So,
well, JD, I'm going to ask you this since you're reading the IDW stuff, and why does Skids is a theoretician? Why does he have so much weaponry? The character's never been a mobile launching platform. I mean, is that his IDW look now?
Because
I don't know the answer to that.
Okay.
Skids has clown feet.
This figure looks.
Feet.
This is the final. It looks like it's missing some detail or something. I don't know.
Waspinator or Skids?
The Skids. It just looks.
Yeah, that thing sort of looks like
it's too monochromatic. There's not enough.
Oh, it's Skids.
Yeah,
his legs are way too hollow.
There's not enough detail. Something is missing.
Yeah.
Like the inside of his legs.
Yeah. His legs do leave a little bit.
The top half is great. The legs and the feet are.
The body mass below the waist looks like it couldn't support his torso and head.
Yeah, the clown feet are bothering me. Thanks, Diecast.
Yeah, I don't know. There's just some lack of detail in it. Like, it
could be with the Takara version. Once they add all their magic Takara paint, this would be a perfect version.
Magic Takara paint. Well, it does make fanboys drool just uncontrollably. So,
and it has turned really crappy figures into good-looking things. So,
what's the best example of that, Don?
I knew you'd want to ask me that. Probably the Rat Bat. Because as good as I like the Scourge, the Rat Bat version is visually more striking.
Yeah. Of course, it doesn't hurt the fact that it's a completely different character with a new head. Mm-hmm. That's some magic paint.
That's all I could think
It made it a new character.
Made it a new character. I'm picking on you. Rat Bat is
Masquerade,
gorgeous.
they sprayed him down and they became Decepticons just with magic paint there. So
that's absolutely true.
There's precedence.
There is precedence for that. That's a good point, Don.
I'm going to get this Skids. I don't know. There's there's not enough. I don't know.
Now, one thing in the picture that has the Wheeljack and the Skids, who is that red car?
What?
That's the like cliff jumper ish.
Yeah.
Bumblebee.
I'm not looking.
That's classic cliff jumper. Okay, it's classic cliff jumper. Okay, yeah. I just wasn't making the connection there. Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm not looking at the photo. So let's see here. What else do we have up? We have new photos of Swerve and Rhinox and Cosmos and Double Dealer that have popped up. Yeah, Swerve is mine.
Oh, dude, so much beauty, perfect, own, must now in my hands.
Yeah.
Why?
It makes me sad that I bought Veer.
Yeah, it makes me like cry lots. Like I
wanted Cogs, but for some reason I got Veer, and like that was so much money wasted.
Yes.
I'm looking at
now. I wish I would have got Cogs.
Right. We also got getting Cosmos.
I love him.
So his upper torso, I say, is far and away better than the Legends Cosmos we got. I want to say a few years ago, but that's probably 5 or 6 years ago. God, so old. But the legs are still kind of. I don't know. I never cared much for the lower torso of that Legends Cosmos that we got. But with that being said, what's his lower leg supposed to look like? Certainly not like. Well, the G1 toy did a pretty decent job in the sense that it's just the front part of the dish or the saucer, and just sort of extruded out.
But now he doesn't. His hands are molded in, though. It looks like as far as There's not an actual hand that flips out or flips in.
There's not much you can do with Cosmos. With that being said, I love Cosmos.
I love Cosmos and Trax are two of my favorite characters. Again, a lot of that has to do with the voice actor, but
Cosmos was my first Transformer too. First one that I actually didn't break.
I think I want all of these figures.
Oh God,
That's crazy.
So are you on the story that we're talking about? Because also included is Double Dealer.
You know what? I skipped the Blitzwing, and I'm curious to see if they made any mold improvements.
They didn't, JD.
Yeah, I heard they didn't.
All right, well, I'll skip the Double Dealer then. I love Double Dealer, the character. Like as far as like the figure, like that's like one of my favorite, like figures from G1.
Yeah, Double Dealer is great, but
yeah, so I'm kind of like, if they made some mold improvements, I think I would have got it. It's still going to be tempting because I love the color scheme. The head is great on it. The head is perfect. It's just that's going to be a tough one.
I still think they could do a little remolding to that and make it Galvatron.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
We were discussing on Fanboy or on on Superhero Time yesterday the possibility of repainting that Springer mold into an RC. Obviously they're not going in that direction, but
they could. That would work. That would be kind of weird too.
Yeah,
like having them together and I don't know. Also, we're getting Scrapnel, which is shrapnel, but with a K.
He looks good.
Yeah, it looks okay. I think of the ones we're getting, it's sort of the least impressive.
Here's your troop builder out of this set.
Oh, yeah. I never really thought of troop building Insecticons, though.
Are you kidding? That's like the original troop builder.
It's for Transformers, but it's never really struck me to do that. I don't know.
Wow. Okay.
Well, it looks pretty good. As far as it looks like, it looks like it's a good representation of shrapnel. It's just,
and honestly, as a 2-pack of troop builders, it doesn't get much better than a reflector shrapnel because how many reflectors were there too, like in the cartoon? So it's like this is a great package to troop build because you get tons of reflectors and you get tons of Insecticons, and I think it's right for troop building.
I just really hope in insect mode those legs actually compress more because that's really throws off the insect mold.
That looks mistransformed.
Yeah, it does.
It looks like the waist should rotate or something, and they fold in. I don't know. It doesn't look right.
But yeah, what I have to say though, what I think is the Hold up, crud. Pause. Ad. There you go. Sorry, some audio from the ad here playing. I think the best toy though that we get out of this whole, from at least this whole story, and we've of course talked about it in the past and drooled over it, but Rhinox.
Oh, he's awesome.
It's so gorgeous.
And there's already there's a few reviews up from what I've been told.
So one of those.
I never had Rhinox. This I'm so happy I'm gonna get a chance at this figure.
Yeah.
It just looks like he just stepped off the page of Beast Wars.
Yeah, it looks pretty amazing. So, I heart Rhinox.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty great.
And he's got the guns that look like the way they're supposed to.
Yeah, the correct guns and everything is great.
I just find it really. I'm hoping someone at Hasbro actually realized releasing Rhinox and Waspinator that close together was something that they had to do. Just,
I wonder if this is like an apology for the old Cheetor and Dinobot that we got.
Yeah, really.
Oh. Well, if it is, I'll accept it.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. T-Formers also has photos of Rhinox in hand that I'm not going to go into, but it's pretty great. Let's go ahead and jump to the third-party roundup. I saw this. It's CM Corp's Excel suit, Spike and Daniel prototype. Color photos. So basically, it's the exosuit from Transformers the movie that was used. It's pretty cool. Now, didn't we get one of these before? Wasn't there another version of this that came out at some point?
Yeah, there was, but they just sort of just folded over, kind of like a jump starter would just fold over. It was about the size of maybe up to the waist of the figure there. They just sort of just folded over.
Yeah, now this doesn't look like it transforms, but I don't care. It looks nice.
Yeah.
So,
and the figures don't look like they move very much.
Yeah, they don't. And Daniel looks kind of like an evil clown.
Yeah, he looks a little spaced out there for some reason.
But he has the D on his chest, or on his breast, so that's the only thing that matters.
Does it look like he has chest articulation? Like he can just spin
it kind of does, yes.
I can just spin the top half of my chest.
What, Don?
Actually, Brian, I believe this does transform, if this is the one I'm remembering, because if you look on the box behind it, it's in buggy mode.
Oh, wow, it is. So is this the same one that we saw like a couple years ago, and it's just now coming out?
No. This was announced not long after BotCon, if this is the one that I'm thinking of. And they said it would be transformable. And based on the packaging behind it, they kept the transformation.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Because you can see Spike or Daniel's head at the very top of the frame looking out the clear plastic dome. So they did keep the transformation.
Cool. So I would consider that. I had this in the show notes, and I'm not going to show it because it's just a silhouette. And I'm at the point where if all you do is show a silhouette, I'm not going to show it. But Orbitron announcing a new ongoing project, WBO3, which is a possible homage to Minosaur. So another not Stunticon set, potentially.
Wow.
Yeah, it's getting ridiculous.
Little bit.
But
I'll be happy when Diesel comes out.
But the next thing, though, I'm showing is something I love, and I hate myself for not buying these. It's Trace, which is not Chase, the throttle bot. It looks awesome. Don't you have Grind Rod, JD?
Grind Rod. Which one's
Roll
that
bar.
one?
Roll bar.
Oh. No. I didn't end up.
I do.
Okay. I knew one of you guys got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got Grind Rod and I've got Aurora, which was the Searchlight version.
Yeah, not Searchlight. Can I still get those? Or are those like ridiculously expensive?
I haven't looked in a while, so I'm not real sure, Brian.
I'm like sending Kim
God,
stuff that I
want this.
Yeah, I know. I'm sending Kim stuff that I want for Christmas. I'm putting this on my list.
Yeah.
It's
it's sort of weird in robot mode with that chest. It reminds me of Kiss Player's Prime with the chest and the
Never
doors.
say
Why would anything remind you of Kiss Players?
Nothing
I'm
should
just
ever
saying that-
remind you of Kiss Players.
I'm just saying that you could put a Prime head on that, and it could be like GoBots Prime, a new GoBots Prime.
My only problem with these, and I've said this before, is that it's such an abstraction from the original, throttle bots, because the throttle bots are just so generic.
They're bricks that roll with friction. These are much better.
Bricks that roll with friction. I love that. That's awesome. But these are really nice.
And we still have no hints on how they combine.
Yeah. You know what I want? And I don't know. I don't think I've ever said this. If we're going to do a third-party set, I want a frickin' third-party puzzler.
That's what I'm hoping this winds up being.
Wouldn't that be awesome?
Mm-hmm.
It would. It would.
Because the way these look, for some reason, remind me of those GoBots. I don't know.
Well, Brian, you're not the first person. I've talked to several other people in other forums and stuff, and we're all getting that same kind of puzzler vibe off. Now the colors won't match up because there's no green puzzler. Right. But I'm really hoping this combined mode really pulls off something impressive.
Yeah. God, I'm gonna go back when we take a break. I'm gonna go find out how much these go for and make Kim buy them for me. Yeah, actually, I want to say this. This is because I'm bragging. Kim loves Fanta Cherry. I love Fanta Cherry. I think it's a great flavor, but you can't get it in 2 liters. You can't get it in 20-ounce bottles. She found something she loves even more, which is Fanta Cherry Limeade. So, yeah, it's awesome. Well, she says it's awesome. So you can't get it. So what I did for her birthday, I bought her the bag-and-box.
Oh, yeah. I was going to say, because Sam's Club sells that in the fountains now.
Yep. So I bought her that, and she can make it with our soda stream here. It's pretty awesome. I'm proud of myself. She loves it. I'm a super husband. It's phenomenal. I'm the best husband ever. So if you want to be a hero with your wife, and she loves Fanta Limeade, Cherry Limeade, just, yeah.
Buy a bag in the box of soda stream, and
there you go.
There you go.
And an Ivy drip.
Yeah.
Ivy, oh my God.
Yeah, it's pretty great. Actually, speaking of SodaStream, I'm about now to drink my SodaStream Not Red Bull. So when we come back after the break, I will be super jacked up. It's going to be awesome. So let's go ahead and jump to Q&A with Rob Springer. Then we'll have comic news. Then the interview with Trent Troop and Transformers Rewind after that. We will be back right after this.
You boys a bit bored? Snap into it! Snap into a Slim Jim!
Hey guys, it's Rob, and this week's question comes from David Polk. David goes on to ask, hey guys, I was wondering if Headmaster's son would know when we are going to start seeing the new ways of throwing 30 Transformers. I would really be grateful to find out because the area I live in is kind of slow about putting out the new stuff, and that's Cleveland, Tennessee. Thanks guys, have a great day. Well, now I know where you live, David. Yeah. And, I don't know if any, Headmaster's children are incorporated into TF Radio. But we have a guy named Don who goes by Headmaster Don, and he don't do these, Q&As, yo. So it looks like you gotta deal with a smart-ass answer from me. Which he was all like, dude, you think Don would know? Because it's Rob guy, you know. He's all like telling me he's tired and yawning and stuff. I don't care. Yeah, so, David. I say. I was actually just adjusting where I was sitting, not trying to be funny. Well, David, thanks for your question. Even though it wasn't intended for me. But I got it anyway, burn sauce. It's like midway through November. Which basically means Christmas is right around the corner. Which basically means, as far as TF goes, you've probably seen the last stuff intended to be stocked by the end of the year. Now, there might be a few stragglers like odd construct bots popping up. I think there's one more wave of those being meant to put out, but I don't really think I've seen any generations listings for the rest of the year. I think it's all stuff intended to come out like first quarter 2014. Now, being that said, there's probably still going to be some that's intended for first quarter that's going to start popping up right before Christmas on the shelves. This has been pretty much the case every Christmas. Pretty much right now, they're just kind of shipping what's left in the factories because stores are just ordering. And the fly just came and fled on my nose. Jerk. But he must know NSA Steve. But I'm holding my hand here like it's an invisible lightsaber. I'm a hand talker. The other one's right here, guys. It's cool. There's not really much intended to be shipped out aside from maybe Black Friday bundles and stuff like that. Christmas is a good time to clear out overstock, as well as... Actually, that's it. Christmas is the best time to clear out overstock. So while these stores are just ordering cases, Hasbro's just sending cases. And that's the way it works pretty much every year. Now, these things that are intended to go out first quarter, a lot of times they tend to get stocked right at the end of the year, like a week or two left of Christmas. I mean, just remember last year, year before, you walk through a Walmart, you'll see that case sitting there. They got to put something out. It's shelves are getting empty. People are buying everything they can because, little Jimmy and little June, kids named their children Jimmy and June, want their new toys, and it's just bang, bang, bang selling out. And that's the noise it makes, bang, bang, bang. Especially here in the Atlanta area because people start shooting each other. Yeah, it's a rough town. So yeah, basically, what's out now is pretty much it, aside for some basically up to the stores to restock. I think there might be a few more Constructibots to show up and appear. That's probably it. Just be patient. And like I said, if you really want that stuff early, check out those last week or so for Christmas. Those stores start just putting crap up anyway. Now, you could also probably pre-order some stuff like Hasbro Toy Shop and Big Bad Toy Store and all those, because they replenish quicker than physical retail because it's basically a warehouse and orders. Because I know Double Dealer and Rhinox are up for pre-order now, so I'm going to assume they'll start showing up in stores any day now. So that's probably the next wave of Thrilling 30 at best that you're going to see. I'd love some more stuff to show up too, but I have to be honest with you, it's the time for me to think of other people, so I'm not going to be too bothered if they don't show up till January. Well, thanks for your question, David Polk, and thanks all you for listening, and please keep sending your questions in, tfradio.net or rob@tfradio.net. I'll answer there too. There's many ways of contacting us through social networks and whatever floats your boat, tickles your pickle, cranks your tractor, come up with an analogy, and whatever does it. And, we'll answer the questions in time. Check out my blog, roborobspringer.tumblr.net, and follow Headmaster Don at Headmaster Don on Twitter. And check out our other friendly shows. There's Nebula on Pirate Radio. They're with us here now on TF Radio. Check out Good Morning Cybertron. Check out TFYLP. Check out us, man. We're all in this. Hey, check out Transmissions. I like them guys too. So, with that, check out Canadian Slag. Check out Auto Assembly Dudes. That's their name. Grufflock's gang at Nerdsphere. Check those dudes out. Yeah. Thanks for your questions, and please keep sending them in. Thanks. Bye.
Warning. The following segment may contain spoilers for the most recent Transformers comic books. So, Beast Hunters is almost over.
Yeah, probably for the best at this point, and I hate to have to say that.
So we have issue 7 this week, which is the beginning of the big conclusion.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah, the big hastily prepared conclusion is my guess.
I wonder about that.
Yeah, I don't know what's up, but we really just kind of in between issues really kind of took a turn for the worse. First off, did you realize Blackout was dead?
I don't think he was last issue.
I mean, we had gotten to the point of passed out, I think. The last panel he's looking unwell, of course, but, as to whether or not he was dead, that was not exactly clear. But even if that was the intent, we have Slug going to the surface where he doesn't know that anybody is there, as opposed to going back to Last Spark, which as far as he knows is still there, to tell Sludge, hey, you don't have to send anybody after me. So as far as Slug knows, he is back at Last Spark arranging for a rescue party to take people to where he is not.
And then, of course, later Sludge just happens to appear on the surface anyway.
Yeah. In the midst of fighting a Predacon, but...
It's a matter of some convenience.
Yes, but a lot of things in this are unfortunately the matter of some convenience.
Besides maybe reading it.
Yeah.
I feel really bad for Beast Hunters. We talked about this over the past few months, but it's really gotten a bad deal, and I kind of think that a lot of the problems we have with the way the book is set up is probably Hasbro meddling more than anything else.
I'm torn between Hasbro meddling and lack of editorial support from IDW, considering the fact that they only found out that the book was canceled via Twitter.
If that's really the case, I feel very bad for everyone involved.
Yeah. And I think that was about 4 or 5 months ago. I'm not sure of the exact lead time on the comics, but I would be interested to find out where they were writing wise when they found out it was canceled.
I want to say that was during July.
Yeah. I think it was. Maybe even a little earlier. I don't recall.
I think it was July because I sort of remember posting the solicitations that started calling it of 8.
Okay.
And that would have probably been during July, most likely.
Yeah. Okay.
Point being, though, I really think that, there is tied hands and other problems just leading to the general poor response the book has had.
Yeah.
I really think if everybody had been given some more room to do the stuff they want to do, the stuff that we know in other contexts they are good at, I think even just being 8 issues long, I think it could have felt like a lot more worthwhile 8 months worth of time.
Yeah. It would have been, it would have been smarter in a way to start this comic right about now when Prime is squared away, Predacons Rising is out of the way. There's nothing you have to worry about spoiling, and you can actually do whatever it is you need to do.
Right, the continuity is done with mostly, so there's not any conflicts to come up either.
Yeah.
See, that makes a lot of sense, so I can see why that didn't happen. And then artistically, this feels like it's coming down to the wire. Also, I think you had some points on that.
Yeah. If you look at the preview pages, you can actually see where some centering lines that should have been removed at the sketch phase have been inked into the final figures. Not the first time it's happened, but the whole thing just, it just adds to the whole thing feeling rushed. One of Agustin Padilla's favorite tricks when he is running low on time, or at least when I assume he's running low on time, is to do things in silhouette. There is a page where I think it's Snarl getting attacked by the Predacon, and there's not the usual running lights you get from a Dinobot, and if it didn't have a word balloon, it would just look like a random rock or something being tossed around, or a potato. I don't know, but not a Dinobot.
I have no idea what's going on there.
Yeah, that's and there's more things like that through the book. There's a couple of panels where he was trying for a really kind of nifty effect where the division between the panels, the border was just a shadow between the two pictures. The problem being that because he rendered a character in the foreground who has big sticky outy things on her head, they overlap into the upper panel, so with no clear border there, what it looks like is that there are two of her for no good reason. Yeah.
Speaking of there being two of someone.
Uh-huh. Ah, yes. There's the fact that at the end of the book, RC, Bulkhead, and Bumblebee show up to help the Dinobots, and of course, Chromia, who has been in the last few issues, is pretty much RC's robot mode character model. Problem being that she is on model and RC isn't.
The only real difference between them, I figured out, besides the accuracy to the model, is that RC has a little bit of pink on her.
Yeah.
So that basically makes Chromia toy RC and RC show RC.
Yeah, which, yeah. I'm really hoping in the last issue we get one panel with two of them, standing next to each other, because I just want to see what happens.
Meanwhile, I'm taking this from a different direction. Chromia is shown transforming into something like a station wagon instead of a motorcycle. And being that the robot mode looks like RC's, I want to see a toy design that's capable of doing that and looking like RC as a robot.
That would be impressive.
It would. That's why I want to see it. It's like, well, it's like with the animated toys.
Mm-hmm.
If you remember that, we saw the character models, and nobody could figure out how that would ever work as toys, and yet
they did.
And I'm sure they could make a Chromia toy based on this comic that would work like that.
Oh, yeah.
Except it would look exactly like RC in packaging, so they would never be able to do that. So next month is the conclusion, or, the bullet.
Yeah. And I'm kind of looking forward to that at this point, and that's awful to say.
Yeah, the book it could have done a lot more than it feels now like it was allowed to do.
Yeah.
And that's the tragedy.
It is, because we know that the people who wrote this are capable of really great things, and it seems like they have enjoyed the work they've done on this, so this makes it just a real shame that they weren't able to stretch out a little bit more. Mm-hmm. I would love to see Margaret Scott get to write something for IDW that is not beholden to two sets basically of editors, because I wouldn't be surprised if everything written here had to go through people at the Hub and through IDW. And too many cooks. I'd like to see just her with no co-writers, with one set of editors, and a better artist, and I am betting we could get something great.
Let her do something in the main continuity instead of the prime continuity.
Yeah, seriously.
I mean, with all the stuff James Roberts is able to do, I'm pretty sure she could find a corner to work in and really excel.
Oh, yeah.
With a different artist.
Yes, with a different artist. Mm-hmm. All I can imagine is that even though his stuff looks rushed, he must be amazing at meeting deadlines.
No idea.
You can hear our show on Stitcher Smart Radio. Stitcher allows you to listen to your favorite shows directly from your iPhone, Android phone, BlackBerry, or Palm phones. On demand and on the go. Don't have Stitcher? Download it for free today at Stitcher.com or in the app stores. Stitcher Smart Radio, the smarter way to listen to radio.
So with me, I have Trent Troop. Trent is the organizer, creator, mastermind, I guess, behind BMOG, which is the biomechanical ordnance gestalts project that we talked about a couple of weeks ago. Trent's been around the fandom for a long time. Yep. I first met Trent through IRC many years ago. And he's, even if I didn't know him through the internet, I would know of him. He's been involved with, lots of things over time. He's a very talented 3D modeler. You've probably seen some of his animations and 3D models over the years. And sort of seems like this BMOG project just kind of makes sense given your skill sets and, your hobbies. So tell us about it, Trent.
Well, the basic concept was I've wanted to do toy design for a really long time, and finally I got involved a little bit with Shapeways, with making little accessories and 3D printing and so forth. And out of that grew the idea of doing BMOG, which was sort of a way of addressing the challenge of doing accessory packs primarily for the Transformers fandom, but for other things. Because for the most part, the accessories are usually very localized to a character, and otherwise you don't have much of a hook to sell them. So as I was working out ways of making this work, I really like all of the master partners, the mini-cons, and especially the little beast creatures like Soundwave's cassettes or the Action Master partners. And I came upon the idea of making a robotic animal that breaks down into an arsenal of weapons that would, and doing it so that the concept stood on its own, didn't infringe Hasbro intellectual property, and so it could be its own thing that's compatible with Transformers and everything else that uses a 5mm peg, which is an extensive list. And there was a bit of inspiration from Glyos. There's a bit of inspiration from what the Joe fandom, what their third-party producers do in terms of making tons of little accessories. Some influence from the Transformers mythos, and just a general love of 80s robot toys.
Yeah, so I'm looking at this, and I'm not like a big Zoids fan or anything. I'm kind of getting a vibe kind of like that, just from the look a little bit.
A lot of the aesthetics are inspired to a degree by things like Zoids, Star Ears. I really like.
I love Star Ears.
Yeah.
I love Star Ears so much.
Star Ears is a big influence. Don't be surprised if eventually you start seeing some cockpit-style heads for some of the creatures and so forth.
Oh, I would love that.
And but like there were a whole bunch of other like little tiny robot lines from that time. Everything from like Matchbox had a line called Parasites, which was really weird.
Yep, I like Parasites were pretty great.
There's a bit of like of Micronauts inspiration, robotics. We're going more towards taking the general feel of 1980s robot toys and then developing our own thing with it. With Arsenal, and I've got a 3D printed Arsenal in blue here. It's a current revision. I wanted to start off with a bear because you don't see that many bears.
No.
They're not a common thing in the Transformer line. So there's kind of a gap there, and it helps us, sort of establish out the gate that we're doing our own thing. That led to the sort of the natural inclusion of the hexagon pattern as a repeating element of his design, because of the honeycomb connection with bears and honey. And even his little hammer weapon, if you see it on its own, kind of looks like a honey dipper. And it's I've been designing and sketching BMOG figures and characters for about a year now, and we are finally at the point where we can start going into production, and that's when the Kickstarter launched.
So the Kickstarter, we are recording this on Sunday, the 10th of November, 2013. Somebody catch this like in 2020. And right now, 32 days left. It's at $4,800. So basically, you are 25% of the way there with only a few days in. That's very promising.
Yes, that's actually caused us a little bit of a rush because we're going to need to get that first stretch goal up there soon if things keep going at this pace, and I hope they do. We are. Right now I have Alex Androwski. He's our engineer. He converts. I do aesthetic modeling. My modeling is not made for industrial production. Alex converts what I do into things that can be easily milled, CAD files that can be easily milled into the steel plates at the factory. And so right now he's converting our next normal warrior-sized BMOG, Featherblight, who is a bird of prey. He's taking my model and converting that and getting it ready to get all the thicknesses right for plastic tolerances, all the angles right for the mold, and so forth.
So Alex's background is industrial engineering, so that's just like a perfect confluence of talents coming together to make this happen.
Yeah, Alex did some work for Hasbro as an intern. He's an industrial designer and engineer. He knows a lot about the physical production process, and so that covers us on both angles of it. And of course, I'm working with Greg Sepelak, who's doing character designs. And he's going to be doing a lot of our art and promotional materials. Like we're going to have some mini comics for our website in the style of old pack-in comics and back of the package comics. He does our bio art and things like that.
That's great. So from people from the internet might know Alex is Awa64. Greg is M. Cypher. Greg's been around forever. You know, just like myself, you go by your name, Trent Troop, on the internet. But people, you know, if somebody's a Transformers fan, more than likely, you know, people know who you are, at least around the fandom. So, you know, it's usually when something like this happens, it's like somebody I've never heard of, or there's some sort of nameless person who's doing these things. It's great that there's, you know, a very visible person. There's a very you know, known quantity of the people that are involved. Greg's involved with maybe some, you know, official things. You know, Alex has been involved with some official work. So, you know, there's a lot of experience here.
Yeah, we've all worked for Hasbro, and as in Greg and I's cases, freelance writers.
Yes, that's right.
And and I would love it if most of my projects I've done for them I could talk about, but we're not to that point yet because a lot of them have not been done and could be in various limbo states. But
Greg and I have had we've had some conversations as of late about that. Yeah.
So
I don't know what they are. But I have harassed him, and he will not say a word. So.
If you've read a Hasbro non-disclosure agreement, you wouldn't either.
Oh, I know.
But no, I only bring it up just to make things clear. This project is not endorsed, sponsored, or attributable to Hasbro in any way. We are our own thing. We are just presenting that information to establish our credentials for anyone who might not know. We're not some fly-by-night group of people. This isn't our first rodeo. It's just the first rodeo that's been this big.
Yeah, this is pretty impressive. So let's see here. So you have your Kickstarter. You're well on your way, you know. So what people, I don't know if people are that familiar with how Kickstarter stuff works, but from the few that I've done, it seems that most people who are moving along this fast tend to hit pretty quick because the exposure grows. So it's more, you know, if you hit your stuff, if you are moving early, there's momentum and you're more likely to hit. Like the last Kickstarter that I was really behind, it hit its goal, probably a week out. Then it basically hit its first stretch goal like 3 days later before it ended. So like there should be some momentum behind this. So this is pretty exciting.
Yeah, we are geared up to get as many stretch goals out there as we can reasonably hit. We've the next set is, with the exception of one member of each mold tooling set we do has one sort of standard warrior BMOG figure, which is about 9 to 10 pieces, and a miniature BMOG figure gang molded with it, which is 2 to 3. In the case of Arsenal, he comes gang molded with Mantax, the Manta Ray and Blaster combination. For Featherblight, he is going to be gang molded with what we are right now calling the non-dino team, which is 3 prehistoric reptiles that are frequently sold as dinosaur toys but are not dinosaurs. There is an Ichthyosaurus that is a ray pistol. There is a Dimetrodon, which is a battle axe, and there is going to be a pterodactyl. That's the one that hasn't been modeled just yet. We just have some designs. And it is going to work hopefully as both a crossbow and a pickaxe.
So assuming all of this works out, it hits, and it's a success. What do you see your retail model being? Are you selling direct to like the online distributors? You're going to sell direct to customers? I mean,
we have had interest from online retailers, and that's the way we would prefer to go, just because it's easier and more efficient, and we can get exclusives for the different retailers and so forth. But if that doesn't wind up being viable, or we may just also along the side launch our own storefront when we get to that point.
And you are working on designing things that you can build molds off of. So these aren't going to be 3D printed once they're actually in production.
Right.
Is that the goal?
We have a factory lined up. We are going to be making steel molds for production, and they are going to come out model kit style. So you will receive a sprued kit that you will pop the pieces off of, like an old 1980s Zoids kit.
Like Kabaya, basically, right?
Yes, but with a more, a sort of a heftier ABS plastic than Kabaya uses.
Yeah.
If anybody's ever done a BotCon custom class figure, we're looking to basically produce like one of the sprues that you would get with one of those kits.
And for people that don't know, the sprues are basically the little wireframe thing that has all the pieces attached to it.
If you've ever put together any kind of model kit where you had to snap parts off, the sprues are the connecting piece.
Or like the Ninja Turtle, back in the day, the Ninja Turtle accessories came on sprues, which I still love and miss.
Yeah. And we are going to be including decal sheets for that extra 1980s feel to it.
Oh, that's cool. That's great.
We're currently working out the details on the decal sheets, whether we're going to be going with a sort of a matte paper decal or we're trying for metallic, but it just depends on what our factory can manage. But I personally am hoping for the metal foil, because that's the full experience.
Yeah, that would be pretty sweet. So what are your plans? So you expect to hit this? You expect to release? Do you intend to keep new characters, new designs coming along?
Yes. Yes, indeed. We have right now we have 2 finished designs, which are Arsenal and semi-finished in the case of Featherblight and the non-dinos. But we have planned figures about 3 waves out, and concepts to pick from beyond that. If we can, realistically, we're really hoping to get at least if Arsenal funds early on, I'm confident we can get Featherblight funded, and there's a possibility that we can get the next figure set after that done as well, which we're still holding the identity of that figure back as a surprise.
Cool. So you said Greg is working on some fiction. Any chance that we might have some animation, that you might be able to put out at some point?
We are keeping it in mind. It's really time consuming, and a lot of my time is taken up with the engineering itself and running the project, but some animation isn't out of the question. I'd like to eventually put together some 30-second commercials and such. So
Can you repurpose the models that you've already done for this toward the animation?
yes, actually, the versions that I have before I send them off to Alex are very easily converted and done for that purpose.
That's cool. That's just something I'm curious about because I'm in the market for a 3D printer, so I was just kind of curious how difficult that was.
For just general purpose 3D printing, the work that I do in 3D Studio, I can get set up and exported to work on shapeways and the like. Always special expertise comes in handy when we're using the actual injection mold process, which is a completely different beast than 3D printing.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. So, what else can you tell us at this point, Trent?
Well, we are well on our way with it, and we appreciate every contribution. So there's going to be plenty of rewards left to pick up. So everybody come and bid or back, whatever Kickstarter calls it. One of the other things is I know a lot of indie toy lines, they'll release the same figure in a different deco, but it's always the same character. It's like there's a variant process to it. We are taking our inspiration more from the 80s toy lines, so every time we have a deco, we're going to be putting up a bio for the character on our website. There's going to be, so like while we are calling the figures that are, for simplicity's sake, Ursula and Mantax are the Kickstarter characters, but for example, the Kickstarter exclusive colors will actually be two different characters than Ursula and Mantax. Ursula and Mantax will be the black retail release, but the Kickstarter color everyone gets to vote on will determine the names and personalities of those characters.
Cool. That's very awesome.
And the other thing that I definitely mention is that you don't really realize until you get them in hand what you can do with these things. When I designed them in the computer, and I'm like, okay, well here's the bear configuration and there's the weapon configurations. But once I actually got some 3D printed prototypes on hand, I was finding that I could make combine weapons to make like jetpacks, over the shoulder double weapon harnesses. A humanoid mode. I took we have pictures up in the actual Kickstarter of a large humanoid robot you can make with two Ursinals. And that was something that we did not set out to design in. There's a lot of build possibility with this.
So when I first heard about this, I thought, oh, this is cool. When I actually first heard it, I don't even think I knew that you were involved, or that I actually didn't. I'm a terrible person, but I actually didn't know that Greg and Ala were involved until just now. But I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. And then the more I've read, like, this is more than pretty cool. This is really cool. I really like the idea of, having this sort of, the 5mm peg works with tons of stuff. And the fact that you can reconfigure just scratches an itch, because there's not, other than Lego and Creo, there's not really a lot of things out there that really work that I would have any exposure to. You mentioning like Star Ears. The one thing I loved about Star Ears is I could swap parts, and swapping parts is just I don't know. It adds an extra play pattern that most other toys don't have, and I just think it's really neat.
I've actually I have a pretty much accessoryless Deadeye, and I've put Ursinal parts on his arm stumps, his 5mm pegs there, to give him little gun arms and the like. So the Star Ears compatibility is there specifically.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. One thing that I will say is that our first batch of figures are very much in the Transformers GoBots kind of way. The Transformers Star Ears GoBots, that type of aesthetic, the 1980s robot aesthetic. We do have, if the better things do, the more likely we are to try some wild stuff. I know Greg is itching to do a Jason the Wheeled Warriors homage, and I totally want to do something that gives a sort of an aesthetic nod to Inhumanoids at some point.
That would be great.
But we approach each figure as its own sort of individual character, its own individual style elements, so that Arsenal will look like the style of design on Arsenal may not, and Arsenal and Featherblight, the figures that come after, may have different stylistic flourishes. One of the designs that we have held back for when we find out if we can do larger scale figures has kind of a steampunk aesthetic in his early designs. And we're trying out new things, and we are very open to feedback and suggestions. One of the things I love seeing is everybody coming up with the terrible pun names, which has happened on several of the boards. People will suggest an animal name and then come up with the weapon pun name. And I think that's a lot of fun.
That is pretty cool. And the fact, so how, as far as fan interaction, are you in a position where you could take ideas from fans if they wanted to suggest something, or is that pretty much off limits?
It's kind of a gray area. We're not really taking suggestions outright, but we may start doing things like, we can't control what people post of course, in a list. But we may start doing things like polling for general opinion on things, and like, where would you like to go? What type of style would you like to see something in? So on and so forth. Would you like to see a guy that's designed much more sleek and fluid? Would you like to see something that was more blocky and heavy? How important is you that the design is entirely robotic? Things like that.
Cool.
If you haven't backed the Kickstarter yet, please do. It helps get everything made. It helps move us towards making future products, and it's and if it doesn't come together, you don't lose anything.
Yeah, that's the great thing about Kickstarter. You can back it. If it doesn't happen, they don't bill you.
Right.
So you're on Kickstarter. People can just search for BMOG. Mm-hmm. The website. How do people find you on the website?
On the Kickstarter website.
Or you have your own site, don't you?
Yes, we do. We have bmogtoys.com, which just BMOG toys, all one word, .com. We also have bmogtoys.tumblr.com, and we are at BMOG Toys on Twitter. So it's very easy because we've used the same URL element through the entire thing.
And also on Facebook, right?
Yes. Facebook. On Facebook, you kind of have to search for us because they haven't given us a short URL yet. Although I may eventually, I should probably do a tiny URL for that to make it easier on people. But
yeah, or link it from your website.
Well, yeah, we do have it linked from the website, so that's
perfect. There. Perfect. So bmogtoys.com.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Well, Trent Troop, thank you very much, sir.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Brian.
Radio Free Cybertron.
Transformers. Rewind.
This week on Transformers Rewind, it's Sea Change from G1.
Do you really think that I would disappear like the droids?
You're both machines, aren't you?
Is that how you think of me?
Sea Spray, you're my friend.
Maybe that is all I am, a bunch of transistors and bolts. But I don't believe it. My heart may look like an energon pump, but that doesn't mean it can't feel.
No, Sea Spray, don't!
I have to find out!
Oh, Sea Spray, my friend, I did love you.
You did? Really?
Sea Spray?
I think so. Wait a minute. There. How do you like that?
Oh, ouch.
Sorry. Guess I'm still part robot.
But I like you as a robot. I was afraid that someone with a body like mine wouldn't be your type.
Never. Wanna go for a swim?
So, Sea Spray becomes a human. That's it. See ya. This episode just doesn't require a lot of thought.
But they fall in love. It's a love story.
You don't watch this episode, you feel this episode.
So I guess the current would be the feels. Using the current. Is that what it's called now? Is the feels it gives you?
It would have been better if he pulled up in like a Lamborghini or a Ferrari or something and got out and the girl was like, "I'm in love with you," because that's how quick it was. It was like, "I love you." I was like, "It's been 2 minutes. You got a lot of money, right?"
Yeah, I mean, so go ahead.
I just want to point out that, the Autobots pick up this distress signal, the unknown origin, and what rescue party do they send? They send Cosmos and Perceptor and Sea Spray and Bumblebee. What the hell? Who are they going to save? Was Omega Supreme busy doing something else? I mean...
He was busy trying to figure out his origins.
This episode is a perfect example of the scale being all thrown off, because they basically go over in Cosmos and then they transform and they're all the same size again. You just had 4 Transformers inside of you and now you're as big as them.
So Don, back in the day, how do we explain that? Mass loss?
Mass conversion, yeah.
Mass conversion. Subspace fields.
Yeah. Basically, all the mass goes into a pocket dimension. Oh my god.
Yeah. Yeah, that they pull mass from an unknown source to increase their size.
God.
The science. Don't you know anything about science?
It's amazing what nerds will come up with to explain their favorite shows.
It's kind of funny. Back then, we didn't have a lot to talk about other than like the Furman comics and G1 and Beast Wars too at that point. But we had to come up with a lot of creative crap. Now we just don't care because there's so much thrown at us. Can you imagine if Transformers Prime had an episode that was basically sea change? On Twitter, the writers would have been like lynched.
I will say one thing about sea change, and also using it as a parallel to the Gambler. It's nice seeing the Decepticons empire actually having non-Earth focused operations going on, because you've got Deceptitran on this planet, and then you've got the Casino Lord in the Gambler. So you're actually getting a sense that the Decepticons are actually an empire of sorts, rather than just being focused completely on Earth and the Autobots.
Yeah, this sort of added to the universe. If an episode takes place in, talking about an episode that we talked about in a previous episode, we talked about Changing Gears, took place in in Africa. Okay, that's great. We know that Africa's there, and we know there's stuff, but it really doesn't add anything. This episode sort of makes the universe a little more richer. Other episodes like, I don't know, Child's Play kind of take away from the universe by, adding new things. But I really do think that this episode makes Transformers just a little better. Transformers as a whole would be less awesome if Sea Change wasn't in it.
And I love Sea Spray's voice.
I love Sea Spray.
Yeah.
God, I love Sea Spray so much.
His voice actor must have just been in pain by the end of this episode.
That was Frank Welker.
That was Welker? I'd forgotten if... Wow.
Yeah, I think he can pretty much do anything.
Yeah. One thing I noticed during watching this episode is that I think Laserbeak is the only competent Decepticon ever.
In the cartoon, probably, yes. And he's not like unerringly competent, because I'm certain there are instances when he did something incredibly stupid. But yeah, when Megatron said that, his other warriors failed him in Transports the movie, and praising Laserbeak, Laserbeak pretty much is a straight shooter.
Yeah, he was the only one in this episode smart enough to just, follow the people to their hidden city. I mean,
yeah.
Radio Free Cybertron has teamed up with Kokomo Toys and Collectibles in Kokomo, Indiana. If you're in the Kokomo area, visit our store for a huge selection of new and classic toys. Visit online at www.kokomotoys.com for our address and store hours. While you're there, check out our listing of pre-order items, as well as visit our eBay store. Visit us at www.kokomotoys.com. That's KOKOMOTOYS.com. We're also on Facebook.
I already thought this was cool, but the more I talked with Trent, the more excited I am about it. There's definitely a Star Years feel to this thing.
I don't quite get it yet.
Well, it's not to get.
It's it's like this infinitely combinable thing that you can use to like do cool stuff in their weapons.
It's interesting.
Oh, the good thing is, Diecast, it doesn't infringe on anyone's copyright.
That's it.
Mm-hmm.
And it fits every line of figure you can think of, except maybe.
And the things that it doesn't fit, they'll make adapters for.
Yeah.
I think it's flippin' awesome.
It's like on the bear, the front leg is kind of odd because you got that one paw until you think that's not a paw, it's a magazine. It's just a front-loaded magazine is all that, and then it makes perfect sense.
And as Melvar said, you having a Kickstarter project isn't the only way we'll ever get a Headmaster RC.
Well, again, like y'all said last week, I am interested in if that list is even close to accurate. We'll have to wait and see. Of course, what I'm worried about is we actually get it. It's going to come out, and then what JD said a few months ago is like I'll be driving home with it, and I wind up having some horrendous accident and dying before I even get it home to open it.
So, while I love Galvatron, I really do, no one loves anything as much as you love RC, Headmaster RC. So, no. So,
he has a plush Headmaster RC that he sleeps with every night.
So, how would that affect you if Headmaster RC was no better than the deluxe Galvatron that we got?
See, I don't really have a problem with that deluxe Galvatron.
Just assume that we get a really crappy Headmaster RC.
Right.
Okay, I will be upset, and if there were other molds or sizes that would have made more sense based on what features was built into the figure, then I would take some umbrage with it.
So right now it says it's a deluxe class. Now, what would you do, Don, if it were like a leader class figure and that was just a screw up? You would marry it, right?
Like he would.
I'm kidding. I'm
hoping again. This is a hope of mine. Blue Lantern ring and everything. All. I would like to see a masterpiece RC.
I think that'll happen eventually.
Because you could include the Headmaster Daniel.
Yeah,
you could
absolutely.
have a regular head and have Daniel just as a driver. So you could have either you could display it either way. And then that way you could have your movie because you have Rodimus, you have RC.
Here's the problem. So I'm looking at Masterpiece Blue Streak. His head's tiny.
Aww.
His head's like really small. She would be the same size as Blue Streak here. She will have to have a larger head.
Yep.
For to transform.
But now she does.
Most women do.
She does have the buns.
Oh my God.
So anyway, as far as RC heads, her head's with her having the old Princess Leia motif going on. There's a little bit of extra mass in there.
I didn't mention it in the show because it's not really news if it's going to be old by the time you hear this. But there was a one-day sale at Toys R Us today, which is October, November 13th, 2013. And the Jetwing Optimus Prime was what, Don? $65?
65, yeah.
So it's going to, for the Thanksgiving Day sale, it's going to be what, 50?
50 is $49.99, yeah.
Good luck getting that. If you can get it for 50, it's going to be worth it. But so they are now getting them back in stock, but they're $100 until in the interim between now and Thanksgiving.
Or this would be the first time they've ever had stock of that.
Oh, they haven't had that in?
No,
they've never had that.
Was
in.
that just like at Walmart and Target?
It was an Amazon exclusive.
Yeah, that was Amazon and Asia exclusive only.
That's right. So what am I? I'm thinking about the one JD got, that $100 Prime that came out.
The movie one.
Yes.
Or with the trailer.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely. Yeah, So yeah, if you can get it for $100 or $50,
the Ultimate Edition,
the Ultimate Prime, that's what I was thinking of. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, the Ultimate Edition, then the Year of the Dragon version.
Yes. So yeah, definitely, if you can get this, that would be awesome. If you're willing to drop $100 on it, do it. If not, risk it. Black Friday or Thanksgiving, $50.
Even at $100, Amazon Prime. Amazon has headed for that for a while, but that's still half of the original retail when it came out.
I thought I paid like $120 for it on Amazon. I don't remember.
I remember seeing it for like $179 at the time when it came out. That was the cheapest I remember seeing it, and I didn't get it obviously, but yeah, it's a pretty awesome figure as far as it looks.
Sorry, Optrod was just telling me in the chat that it's a shame that I just now decided that I wanted it because he sold it not that long ago.
Oh.
Yeah, I want Grind Rod. That sounds terrible, but I really do.
Damn.
Yeah.
I would have thought you would have wanted Hardbone more.
Actually, Ninja Dave from Nebulan Pirate Radio just got Hardbone today. I saw that on Facebook, and that's pretty cool. Actually, speaking of Nebulan Pirate Radio, I think I mentioned this before, but they have now partnered with RFC, and they are now on the site. You can find them at tfradio.net/NPR. And we actually now have their iTunes feed set up. So if you want to subscribe, go to iTunes and search for Nebulan Pirate Radio. Nebulon, not Nebulon. I don't know if that was a typo originally or not, but we're rolling with it. And I have never actually asked him, Bob Saget, that, but I'm assuming they knew. I'm assuming they knew that Nebulon had an O in it. But that is now there. If you see two feeds on iTunes, ignore the one that says Blog Talk Radio. That's old. We've actually also added a new podcast, two actually, but one's like really new. It's our Ninja Turtle podcast. It's also hosted by M. Bob Saget. It's called the Turtle Lair Podcast. You can find that at tfradio.net/Turtle Lair, and it's LAIR. And it's also on iTunes at Turtle Lair Podcast. Actually, correction. It's not just at tfradio.net/Turtle Lair. It's actually at tmntpodcast.com.
Oh, wow. There you go.
Yeah, tmntpodcast.com. You can get it directly there.
Did you buy another domain?
I did.
Buy another? He's probably owned this stuff for years by now.
No, I got it Sunday.
That's amazing.
I want to do something with that blah blah Digimon podcast domain, but
yeah, you just got to get with Ken on that, man.
I got to talk to Ken and get McFeely on board with that too.
Oh, definitely. That would
but yeah, so
it'd be a party.
So yeah, go to tmntpodcast.com and it will take you directly to our website. You can subscribe on iTunes, RSS, whatever. And we've also added one more podcast. It's new-ish.
It's not April Fool's, kids. Like, this is legit stuff that we've added to our network.
So our favorite recurring segment, or one of them, which is the Transformers Rewind. segment. I've actually broken that off into its own podcast. We'll still air the new episodes on RFC, but older episodes, it's evergreen content. It's always going to be fresh. Is actually now available in podcast form, and that's at tfradio.net/ I think it's just rewind.
That's really cool.
That actually, it's at tfradio.net/Transformers Rewind. And of course, that's on iTunes as well. So right now we have 2 episodes posted, Triple Takeover and Surprise Party. So now we'll be posting 1 or 2 episodes a week on that. That's a nice short form podcast. It's about 10 minutes long, and it's great.
So everybody needs to go watch the original stuff from start to finish, G1, all the episodes, and then when you're done, you can come back and watch the podcast so you can see what we're talking about.
So Paul says he would do a G.I. Joe podcast. I do own JoeCast.com, GIJoePodcast.com, and JoeCast.com, I think. Yeah, I need to do that.
No, Paladin, you can't do a Digimon show.
But we don't
Paul
have...
also says, Brian, you got a pony podcast coming up.
Okay, so we got Paladin on for the Digimon podcast. Ken, hopefully, and maybe McFeely. That's it. YoJoCast, I would say, would be copyright. I wouldn't do that since YoJo.com exists.
Yeah.
Paul was asking about you. Yeah.
Oh, so I can't be on the Digimon podcast?
I don't give a damn, Don. If
I'm kidding.
No.
I'm kidding.
No, Don.
Actually, one thing I wanted to mention too. So now that we have that out of the way, I did end up, like I mentioned, I did get Blue Streak, Masterpiece Blue Streak. He is really nice. He's right here. It is, I don't know. I would say it's appreciably different, maybe not better, but certainly different, or just as good as Prowl. And I really loved Prowl. And funny thing is, I am much more partial to Prowl as a character and a design than Blue Streak. But the color, the plastic, just the finish on Blue Streak is just so nice. I really, really, really like this. Don, how much did you say you could get him for from HLJ?
Well, when he was live and available, I didn't pre-order him. When he went live and in stock, he was $46 plus 13 shipping EMS. My order did not take it, did not go through, and by the time I got it resolved, he was sold out and discontinued.
So I missed Sideswipe when that came out, and Red Alert, and Tiger Track. Tiger Track was an exclusive to a convention, and I kind of regretted it. But now that I have both of these guys, I really regret it. I could honestly see myself, and if it wasn't for Generations, I probably would do this. I could almost see myself becoming someone who almost basically just collects Masterpiece. You know, not that G1 is the only thing that matters to me. Hopefully, eventually, we'll get something else besides G1 and Masterpiece. But the size, the look, the feel
of Cotton,
they're just really, really, really nice. And it'd also be cheaper in the long run just buying these things.
Well, I keep hoping when we might see like the car robot RID, Robots in Disguise cars.
I hope we never get to that. I hope we never, ever, 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 ever get to that. So, sorry.
Yeah.
What was that, Don?
No.
Apparently nothing.
I'm kidding. No, I'm not kidding, but I'm not that. Yeah, actually, I am against that. Maybe I'll be dead by that point. That would be fine. You know,
well, I'm older than you, so I'll be in the ground first.
Nah, my blood pressure is like 120/80.
Yeah, you can Brian is gonna OD on caffeine. His heart's gonna explode.
You know, I haven't been taking my blood pressure medicine, and it was 120/80 today. So maybe I'm okay. My sugar levels are good. My cholesterol is good. I'm fat, but my numbers are good. I say as I die here. And Paladin really wants that Masterpiece Star Saber.
Yeah.
Well, that announcement's coming up soon.
Yeah, but no, seriously.
When? Toy World?
No, Takara's going to have a big online party event revealing who won the Masterpiece sometime soon.
So, and then they'll say it'll take about 1.5 years to make it. This will be the test
Well-
to see if Takara really did, wait till the fans chose the winner. If they pump it out in the next 3 months, they already had it made.
Oh yeah, they totally are not. No, I mean it's going to be whatever.
But yeah, we'll find out when that happens. But the thing about the Masterpiece scale, now that they've dropped them down to smaller figures, except for like the tentpole characters like Prime and Soundwave, and eventually if they do a new Megatron, that are going to be like, I'm using American dollars here, but like $150, $200. The price of these, I mean, I almost hate to say it, but they're fairly reasonable. They're not so. I mean, they are the same price as what you would pay for a third-party toy, and they have the fit, and have the polish and finish of a real legitimate, official product. Yeah, they're really nice. Yeah, they're pretty nice. So I'm definitely getting G2 Sideswipe. I'm definitely getting everything else that comes after. And I'm going to try to get my hands on Red Alert. If I can't, I may settle for the KO. But yeah, so really nice. I really like Blue Streak, way better than I expected. And get him. Seriously,
I just can't wait for Smokescreen to come out. I think Smokescreen's what's going to look awesome.
Yeah, Smokescreen looks great. I skipped Smokescreen, the Universe version or whatever, the Classics version, because Prowl mold sucks so bad. But yeah, I'm really excited about that one. I'll drop the cash on it and get it.
And I'm interested to see what's because the masterpiece they announce is probably going to be still at least a ways out.
Yeah, probably.
So I'm sure they've got something between then and now that's not Sound Blaster. So I want to see what's next in this smaller line. We will finally get a Ratchet and Ironhide, maybe Trailbreaker and Hoist.
Eventually.
Well, we still got to see Bumblebee and Wheeljack.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
We got to see. I mean,
Ultra Magnus.
Yeah,
forgot about him. And I'm forgot about Magnus, and I'm staring at Ultra Mammoth right here.
And we got to get more Decepticons. I think it's a matter. Go ahead.
What do you think the next Decepticon would be?
I'm gonna say Shockwave, only because what's he called? Quakewave has sold so well, and people like that.
Yeah, and I mean, and that makes sense in terms of like mold. Well, I don't know though, because they're not going to be able. They're probably not going to go gun on that, or what? I guess
they would absolutely go gun on that.
I guess it's not normal gun enough to,
Well, now I'm just, this is something I just thought of this, Brian. After looking at the earlier generations pictures with Shrapnel, do you think maybe they would make the Insecticons in the same scale around as Prowl and the others cars to be 3 smaller figures?
I think
possibly.
I think that the G1 Insecticons are about that size, right?
Give or take.
They would roughly be in scale.
And I'm sure, and they could recolor them in like they've done before with the red and black clone army. They could do that if they needed.
And I'll be honest. I mean, I don't think the G1 Insecticons are that bad.
No, I like them. It's just I'm just trying to think of who they could do for Decepticons. That's not Reflector, Shockwave, more jets.
I don't think there's a problem with them doing Shockwave. I don't think there's a problem with them doing another Megatron. I don't think there's a problem with a Galvatron or a Cyclonus or, Scourge. But beyond that, I don't really know who they would end up doing. Even though the jet molds, I think the jet mold is fine at this point after they've retooled it for Thundercracker. Yes, yeah. I can't help but think that they would probably make a smaller one, even though in my mind it's in scale with the Autobot cars, at least in vehicle mode. But I think eventually we'll probably get another jet mold. But I have to think we would get a Megatron first.
I would love to see a masterpiece like Triple Changer, like Just skip my mind, like Astro Train.
I could see that. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. I think we'll probably get. I think we'll probably get the 84, 85 line of Autobots first.
I think it's the problem with the Decepticons is that so many, in terms of like memorable characters, so many of their ranks got filled out by combiners.
Yeah.
You know, it was like the Jets, Megatron, the Jets,
or
Soundwave, Shockwave, and then combiner. People.
Frankly, a bunch of the Decepticons that we know and love and remember came out with Soundwave because of the cassettes.
Yeah, because of the
So
cassettes.
who's to say that they can't do a combiner? Who's to say that they can't do
My wallet.
Yeah, really.
No, well,
it's not that they can't. It's not that they can't, but that's really not in the spirit of what like the masterpiece is. I mean,
Masterpiece has been redefined.
No, it is. But I'm not saying that either. But I'm just kind of saying.
No, it has been redefined. Look at the original Masterpiece figures that came out.
I'm agreeing with you, Brian. What I'm saying is that I still think the essence of the Masterpiece has been to not be the gimmick style Transformers and just be a Transformer that's done really well. So I'm not
combiner really well.
Well, I think it would be difficult to do it.
I think they would do it once, and I think they would do it with Devastator, and I think that's the only one we would ever get.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
And there's also one other thing, and JD will know about this from Toku. Japan is not a big villain producer.
Yeah, they don't. Yeah.
I mean, there are certain classic villains you've got to have. If you've got a certain hero, you're going to have a villain. If you have Voltron, you'll have a Road Beast. If you'll have Getter Robo, you've got whoever. But with there's just so many Decepticons, and with them all being evil, and we haven't got that many by now. I don't see a big upswing coming down the pipe.
Yeah, and that's where I say too. It's just like I just don't think the Decepticons as a army lend well to like what I would say even the new concept of the Masterpiece stuff is. It just doesn't.
If we get Galvatron,
I think Galvatron's a must-have too.
Yeah. Whenever we do get the Galvatron to go with the Rodimus, we'll have the Cyclonus and the Scourge. That makes sense to have that trio together. But there's not a lot of post-movie characters to pull on the Decepticon side.
Who is Galvatron going to beat the hell out of if he doesn't have a Cyclonus?
You got to get a Cyclonus in there. But and that's the other thing too, though, that we have to keep in mind with Masterpiece is that they do a Masterpiece, say Cyclonus. What do you repaint that into? You
repaint it into the alternate universe.
All Armada was the same as Cyclone. It's just like you would change the name on the package. That doesn't really.
No. I've seen the Armada being a different color. In the movie, it was the same color. Yeah.
Well, okay. So yes, you could repaint it into different colors and say that's what it is. But I'm saying, look at compared to say like the Sideswipe, Sunstreaker, where it's like. Or Sideswipe Red Alert, where it's like that is the same mold and definitely two different characters, or say like Prowl and Blue Streak, where it's and Smokescreen, where it is that same mold. You have a little bit of problem when you come to the Decepticon side because other than the Jets, there's not a lot of multiple Decepticon characters that came out of one mold.
Other than sweeps, you're exactly right. As far as just looking at not the sweeps,
there's no discernible, and that's the other problem with doing that though is that there's no discernible difference between a sweep and Scourge.
Right.
So
Nail polish.
Okay, but still, it's like there's no. How are you going to convince a consumer to buy?
I agree. I'm just saying they're running into that problem is they can't repaint enough Decepticons to get use out of that one mold, unless
And that's and I think that's why they did Soundwave, because you can repaint him pretty obviously into
Sound Blaster.
Sound Blaster, and you get 2 out of that. Plus, you get all the small figures as well. The way they did the cassette sets,
And a lot of the cassettes are the same too, like Rumble and Frenzy.
So,
correct.
It just occurred to me, and I think this could be the worst thing ever. Once we get a broadcast or a blaster, we'll get a twin cast.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll buy it, and I'll be sad for buying it because it would be so ugly, but so perfect.
It would be ugly, that's for sure.
Yeah, it would be ugly.
I love I love and hate twin cast at the same time.
Yeah.
Actually, we could get a Masterpiece Metroplex and repaint it into Metro Titan.
Okay.
God, sorry.
But I think that's why we're just not seeing Decepticons, though. We just don't. I mean, the repaint ability coming out of that line is really difficult.
Boom! I can prove you wrong on one thing. Bruticus. That thing has been repainted 75 times.
Well, yes, but again, the combiner I don't think lends into the sort of concept.
They could repaint it. They could just repaint it.
Well, now,
I don't.
They'll repaint it.
Yeah. Well, now one thing is with Megatron, again, you've got the whole gun and the whole import thing. But if you look
can
at
get Megatron and Megaplex. There you go.
Yeah, you got like Megaplex or Browning or something like
Browning,
that.
Or what I would pay money for, and I'm the only one that would do it, Safety Megatron.
Oh, God.
Legitimately repainted into the safety colors. You remember when they would have to?
I mean, and I think that's why Galvatron is a good possibility in the sense that you don't have to tweak that. You don't have to do any kind of weird colors on it because it's already safety ready. I mean, it's already got the orange, barrel on it. Exactly. Although then you still run into the question of what do you repaint it into?
Well, what do you repaint Wheeljack into?
Well, I think what we'll see out of Wheeljack is the same thing we saw out of Generations. I think we're going to see Wheeljack, with a slight retool turned into Trax or something else.
I don't know. So remember when we had Jake on from Retro Reboot and Sharkticon in Eric, and I said, hey, we could just remold Sideswipe into Sunstreaker. And we're like, no, that would never happen because these characters are supposed to represent, blah, blah, blah. And, at that time, I was like, I don't think they care so much. But now I'm agreeing with him. I totally think that, I don't know that they would actually just remold, Wheeljack into Trax because, well, they would do that for the Generations. I don't really see that being. It doesn't fit.
It's not close enough, I guess.
It doesn't fit the Masterpiece, theme.
The proof is going to be in the pudding too. I mean, yeah, they've said they're doing a Wheeljack, but we haven't seen it yet either. So we'll have to see. I mean, I don't know. I'm not saying they're not doing it, but
I was
on the
going to
other
say,
hand,
what are you saying?
I mean, I'm not saying they're not doing it, but I'm also
it's
not
guaranteed pretty much. I mean,
guaranteed.
I guess it could be canceled before it gets to.
This is Japan, sir. You have to remember, Don and I know Japan, right? And Don, how often does Japan say that they're making something that never manages to appear?
Master Asia. Still waiting on Master Asia.
Yep. So I mean, there's
after the fact.
Japan is notorious for saying they're going to come out with stuff, and then that stuff never appears.
Now, I will say with Transformers, it's probably a lot less frequency of occurrence versus your Toku and then your other giant robot animes out there. But it still is. It's still a wild card.
It still happens.
As far as these figures, they don't have to necessarily repaint Wheeljack into another character. They could just repaint Wheeljack into his Diaclone version.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say. That is a possibility that they may go Diaclone on it.
Or Slicer. They can even do Slicer.
You can go, E-Hobby with the more Marlboro style, or something like that.
Animated Plastic brought up in the chat. We've also got Sideswipe and Red Alert possibly remolded accurately into Breakdown. Again, you're getting into your combiners there, and maybe Punch Counterpunch from Wheeljack as a possibility.
Yeah.
Lots of opportunities with Masterpiece.
But again, how does that, to go back around to what we were talking about, like why we're not getting Decepticons?
Yeah.
And now they're probably going to make some announcement and totally blow us all out of the water. But I think we didn't even think of that Decepticon, and it's a perfect one to do so.
Maybe we'll see.
Yeah.
I still think Devastator is a good possibility.
It would be amazing. I would, take my money now.
Yeah.
I guess since I've got Hercules, I really don't want another Devastator to come out. I know that's not fair to everyone who didn't get a Hercules. It's just
or people who are opposed to buying, third-party toys that infringe on Hasbro IP.
Right. I would like to see someone like Monstructor. Or
go obscure enough that no one will buy.
It wouldn't be that obscure. We could get Monstructor and Dino King out of that.
They're not going to do that with Masterpiece.
They should do now. If they were going to do Monstructor, that would be cool with Generations. Like that would be totally fun to do out of Generations. Use the basic size and do a Monstructor out of that.
So before we wrap up, I want to say this. I like Generations a lot. One thing I missed though was Universe, because in Universe they could have just reused that mold. They could have just reused the Monstructor mold and throw that in there. And Generations, they're not really doing that. So Generations is great because it's new stuff, but in instances where they don't want to go in and recreate a mold, they could totally just throw something crazy in like Monstructor, and that would be awesome.
Mm-hmm. So it'd be weird at one point in Generations we get one pretender. Let's say a Metal Hawk that actually has the shell.
I don't think we would get.
It would blow so many people's minds.
I don't know that we would get a pretender if we did. If it was, I don't know that Metal Hawk would be the one we would get if it was.
No,
if it was Japanese, it would make sense. I mean, obviously it is, but if it depends on who was driving that toy. If it came out, from Takara first, Metal Hawk makes sense. Here, I don't know, Cloudburst or something.
Sky Shadow, he's a lot more.
That was a repaint. I
want a Skullgrin. That would be badass.
Yeah.
That would be metal.
Yeah, you've had your Skullgrin.
But that was like not quite Skullgrin. Like I want a pretender Skullgrin.
Yeah. Let's go ahead and wrap things up. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/TFRadio and on Twitter at TFRadio. Now, if you really like the show and if you really love the show, leave us feedback on iTunes. I posted that on our Facebook fan page. We got lots of people liking it and commenting on it, and one person left feedback. I know that the people who liked it and shared it and commented on it all haven't left feedback. We could really use it. We have lots of listeners, lots of fans, but not as much iTunes feedback as we could use. So just quick, if you listen to the show through iTunes, go to iTunes, leave us feedback. We would appreciate it. If not, tell your friends, or leave us feedback wherever you listen to your podcast. If it's Stitcher, if it's Podomatic or something, do that. That would be awesome. It would help us a lot, like a lot.
A lot.
That would be great. I'm at B Kilby on Twitter. JD, you are
the JD Church.
The JD Church, and Don.
I'm at HMRC for EVR.
Diecast.
At Diecast 2.
So check us out there. Go to tfradio.net for all of our shows, including RFC, Superhero Time, the soon-to-be returning Fanboy Versus, new Soundwave, which should be up hopefully next week, a new episode, Turtle Lair Podcast, which is new, Nebula and Pirate Radio, Rewind, and RFC. Do it. tfradio.net. Go there. We have lots of stuff. We have way more stuff than you realize. It's awesome. Go.
So I guess you could say we're more than meets the eye.
We are yes. Podcast in disguise. We'll see you later. Have a good one.
Take care.
Good night.
This has been Radio Free Cybertron. Visit us at tfradio.net for show notes and to subscribe to the podcast. Follow us on Twitter at tfradio for news and updates. Watch our live stream at tfradio.net/live. Join our Facebook fan page at facebook.com/TFRadio. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, TF Radio Network. Have a question or comment? Leave it on our Facebook fan page or mail it to contact@tfradio.net. This podcast is released under a Creative Commons license. Any part of this podcast can and should be redistributed, but please, proper attribution is required if you know what's good for you.